Yo, yo, yo. Tuesday night. You know what it is. About 10 of 9. A little later than usual, but that's all right. You got the Hockey Happy Hour coming at you live on A2D radio, where you can only get the Hockey Happy Hour. Lots to talk about tonight. Lots going on with the Flyers and their rebuild. Lots going on. Draft. NHL Draft is done. We're a couple weeks. We've been off for a couple weeks. So, yeah, we're going to recap the draft. We're going to recap free agency. A lot going on in free agency. A lot of good things for the Flyers. Lots to talk about. So hit that like. Hit that subscribe. It's time to talk about it. Let's go.
Oh, my God! I'm embarrassed! He's flying! Welcome in. It's almost time.
Happy Hour at A2D Radio, and we are powered by the doc. That is Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy with 2 locations in Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Check out our doc, make them yours. SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. Matt Tsutsuti is off this week for his birthday. Happy birthday out there, Matty.
Yeah, Matty. Happy birthday, brother.
Stay out of trouble there, big guy.
He's getting a little trouble tonight. Hopefully, just a little bit. But we do have Brian Daly and Brad Ryer, our top line, centered by yours truly, Rob Povia. We're back, as Brian said, tonight, live on the show. We're recapping the NHL Draft and a wild opening free agency. What teams have gotten better and which teams will be tanking it out with the Flyers. We'll discuss. But first, we want to know, have the Flyers improved heading into the 2023-24 season? Tonight's poll is being brought to you by Bellagio's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pies, cutlets, meatballs, sandwiches, anything your heart desires. Go there, feed, dine, Bellagio's Bread. And if you mention A2D Radio, you get 10% off your in-store purchase. And the poll is, the Philadelphia Flyers have improved the roster heading into the 2023-24 season. Agree or disagree? Brad, I'm going to start with you from an outside perspective, coming into the draft, coming out of the draft, what free agents they've signed. Have they improved the roster?
No, they have not even remotely improved the roster. However, they have improved their young talent base in the minors and their prospect base. And honestly, if you're not going to win the Stanley Cup, okay, and you're probably not good enough to make the playoffs, they did what needed to be done to get themselves going in the right direction. They took out the trash, okay. The one move I really liked for the Flyers was Hathaway. I really like that guy. He's a mean, snarly kind of guy, and you know what? Tortorella was screaming in their ears to bring him in. Because
that's his system.
He's a miserable guy to play against, and you know what? He's going to be real good for the younger players to give them a little room to play their game and improve. I think what the Flyers did was smart. I don't know that they don't have more talent. I mean, you let Hayes go without really replacing him. You let Provorov go. You got a nice haul, but they're all young, unproven players that need ice time. Right now, they don't have as much talent on the professional level, as far as at the NHL level as they did last year. However, I would say this: they seem to have a nice little pipeline now, and if they can develop these kids and get them up here, as soon as they can, every kid that gets up here and makes the team, okay, is going to make the rebuild a little shorter and a little shorter and a little shorter. And the draft, they get this kid from Russia. He's going to be there for 3 more years. Bachikov, is that his name?
Matvei Michkov.
Okay. Michkov, okay.
On everybody's lips these days, too. We'll get into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got a lot of talent. He looks like he could be the next Malikov. No question about that. I'm sorry, not Malikov, Malkin. What am I saying? Could be the next Malkin. Yeah. Okay, could be. We're hearing stories about he's not a great teammate, blah, 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 blah. The kid's 18 years old. Come on. How can you say he's a bad teammate? He's 18 years old. He's probably a little immature. Does that mean he's going to be the same way when he's 21? By the time he goes to Philadelphia, he's going to grow up a little bit. And
I got a whole spiel. I could go into it now, or I could wait till you're done. Go for it.
Yeah, he'll be fine. So I think you guys are definitely going in the right direction, even though the team may not be as good this year as it was last year as far as how many points they get. Being able to have as many of these kids up on the team as possible by the end of the season and having them gain experience in the NHL is just going to be really good for them. If they could somehow hang around the playoffs till maybe February, March, that would be a great experience for them. That may be difficult. I will say this though, a guy like Hathaway, you bring him in, you trade him at the deadline, you're gonna get another first round pick. I mean, that's the beauty of it, because that guy's a good player, and you know what, he's the kind of player that every team in the NHL looks for come playoff time. And in the meantime, he can help mentor some of these guys. He can whisper in some ears. I like the Marc Staal edition, although Marc Staal is kind of a parking cone. His experience in the NHL, is really a good thing for some of these guys. I'm sure they've all heard of him. If they haven't heard of him, then they're out to lunch, because Marc Staal has been a fixture in the NHL for 10, 15 years already. Played for the Rangers for like 10 years. I mean, the guy has always been a real good, reliable, stay-at-home kind of defenseman. Every once in a while, he can add a little offense, but he's pretty reliable. I mean, he's not the kind of guy who's going to make exciting passes up the middle to spring out breakaways for your team. That's not his game. But you go in one-on-one against him, he's going to hit you. He's going to get the puck, and he's going to get the puck out of the zone. That's what Marc Staal does. Just a nice, steady player, and he will definitely be, he'll be like a coach on the ice for them.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, and that's where I think it touches upon is that you can't replace leadership, or you could try to replace leadership. And I like when you try to do it on a 1-year deal. Let's shift over to Brian real quick, Brad. I want to get his thoughts on this poll, as well as I want to get what the people are saying in the comments.
Yeah, so I agree with the poll. I think they have improved from last year. I mean, you get some of the toxicity out of the locker room, trading Ivan Provorov and apparently now Kevin Hayes, who apparently had a tarnished relationship with Torts. So you get that out of the locker room. You bring in some great vets, in my opinion, that are they're not point guys. They're not going to show up on the score sheet every night, but these are guys that bring experience into the locker room. They're going to help some of these young guys grow. To what Brad was saying about Marc Staal, yeah, it's a very overlooked signing, and I understand why people don't like it, but in the long run, look at what he's done in his career. He's been to the Stanley Cup Finals a couple times in his career. He was one of the best defenders in the league at one point, more towards his time with the Rangers, familiar with Torts' system. You're signing back a bunch of young guys, and we'll get in further depth in it later, in Cam York and Ronnie Attard, who are two guys who could absolutely benefit from his experience on the ice. So, bringing in those vets, great signings there. And then on top of it, you have a really, in my opinion, one of the best drafts that the Flyers have had in a long time. And, two big things is you got Sean Couturier and Cam Atkinson also returning to the lineup this year. So those are two big names that the Flyers are going to absolutely get back. And that's really going to help this roster moving forward too, because you're getting your 30-goal scorer back in Sean Couturier, and you're getting your top line guy back as well. One of the best two-way players in hockey. Now, if he can return to at least 50% of the form that he was in, I still think that's a win for Sean Couturier coming back. and Cam Atkinson on top of it, you're getting one of your shoot first guys back. So that he's going to help create offense. He's going to help get things going. So, those are also two guys coming. You can consider them two free agent signings, I guess you could say, because they didn't play for the Flyers last year, and you get them coming back. So, yeah, I think this roster is improved. Whether or not they stay healthy is going to be a whole nother story. But yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with the poll. I think with everything that they've done this year, I think Danny Briere and Keith Jones are off to a great start and have improved this roster.
Right on. And I'm sort of right down the middle between you boys. I mean, I'm ultimately going to disagree with the poll too. I don't think you've improved it. I think you've changed it. You're changing the dynamic. And they did that with a good draft, as you said, Brian, right? They did that with these, park and cone bridge deals. Brad, you're right there. I mean, that's what Marc Staal is. He brings leadership, but he brings that at a very costly, or not costly, I should say, inexpensive 1 year, $1.1 million contract. That's ideal. And that's what teams that are in the Flyers position should ultimately be doing. You weed out the bad eggs, and as it turns out, Kevin Hayes, Provy, that's going to be good. Hopefully you get guys now. It's great that Couturier and Atkinson will come back. Will they be the same players? So that's why I can't really fully agree with this poll. I'm going to disagree, but I think the Flyers have done what they needed to do and had a good draft. What do the people say, Brian?
We got Jake chiming in. We got he's saying, "What up, fellas? Things are looking up for the Flyers." A little positivity from Jake. Jake usually is always pretty positive. We got a question here from Bobby to Grecchio, and I'm sorry if I just butchered your name, Bobby. He anybody know who the projected number 1 pick is next year? I feel like the Flyers are heading in that direction for a year or two.
I haven't heard anybody mention next year yet. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's also no guarantees either. Actually, Benny kind of answered it. Here you go. What's up, Benny? I'm saying Celebrini or Yzerman are the two guys at the top of the draft next year.
Okay.
So
there you go.
Two guys we'll have to keep an eye out on. Anthony chiming in over on the Facebook side saying, since Danny Heatley signed with the Flyers organization, Danny's not allowed around fast cars because anyone knows how crazy he gets. So has to drive slow and pick up in an old pickup truck.
Oh, boy.
I heard that.
Danny Heatley was a really good player, guys.
Yeah, for a little while.
He was. No, he was a really good player. He could score. He could light the lamp, that guy.
He was great in Atlanta, but after he left Atlanta, he kind of fell face first. He wasn't even
When Kovalchuk left, he was never the same player.
No.
Sure.
No.
Checking out this article, actually was just put out about 5 hours ago on the Hockey News. They have Celebrini from Boston University projected to go number 1 in 2024, followed by Yzerman. Benny spot on there from the USHL developmental team. Furthering the list, Ivan Demidov out of St. Petersburg, Russia. Ska, another guy that we'll be talking about next year, just like we're talking about Michkov this year. But Sam Dickinson out of London OHL goes 4. Artem Leshinov from the Green Bay Gramblers of the USHL is defenseman, projected to go 5th. So you can check that out on Hockey News. Connor Eargood put out the article.
Cool.
Well, Don. What's happening?
Joe's agreeing. He agrees because there wasn't anywhere to go but up after the last season.
True.
Fair enough.
Facts.
With every good reason in the world, Don, brother, it's playoffs or bust for your boys this year.
DeBrincat, nice.
It's playoffs or bust. It's the Detroit Red City, baby.
They better make it now. I mean, jeez. There's going to be a lot of pressure on their coach next year, this upcoming season. But here's the question: do they have the goaltending to get there?
I think they do. They got Vinny Husso, who's solid, and then they got that kid Casa right behind him, who's supposed to be the next franchise goalie there. So I think they'll be all right.
I have to see it to believe it. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I worry about with Detroit. Their goaltending. I'm not sure about that. Just like Buffalo.
You can question goaltending.
They brought up that kid at the end of the season, but yeah, it was really good. But
just goes to show you, man. Before we jump to Benny's comment here, man, look at the last couple Stanley Cup winners. They haven't had stellar goaltending. They just had good defenses out in front.
Oh, Benny.
That's funny. So, a little bit of a backstory for this. Pov, if you want to jump into this.
No, go for it, man.
All right. So, a little backstory into this comment. Apparently, the Flyers issued a statement during an interview earlier today. Apparently, a reporter asked the same question a couple times, and you hear somebody blatantly say, "How many times are you going to ask the same fucking question?" So, Flyers went ahead and issued a statement, and now
apologies.
It's
apology letter.
Apology letter.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought Ralphie might jump on because he was laughing about it in the pre-show. So I was allowing him to jump in there. I will point out, though, Benny, along with a few of our other commenters, are a member here at A2D Radio. And if you want to become a member at A2D Radio, which you really should, it's only $9.99 a month, and you get some amazing perks, including shout-outs, members-only shows, appearances on your favorite shows, weekly picks from the Money Pot podcast, and Willie Vegas from Agree to Disagree on Sunday night. Join today. Links are right in the comments. And for all of our great commenters tonight, they're, and you see them all below, whether we get to them or not. We love you. Keep them coming. This is being brought to you by Gleason's Bar. They're located at 6700 Mill Creek Ave in Levittown, PA. Again, if you dine out there and use the code A2D Radio, you get 10% off your order when you dine in, even if you just take out, or if you order online at Gleason'sBarandSteaks.com.
So an added perk now for A2D members. You have a chance to wind up on our new show on Monday night at 9:30 called Fandemonium.
Yes.
So that's another perk added to being an A2D member. So we definitely want you guys for sure to be members and comment in and get chances to come on the shows with us. But we also want to get a chance to possibly maybe go head to head with A2D fan base. So all kinds of perks with the A2D membership. So definitely sign up. Yeah, Donna, it's definitely playoffs or bust for you for sure. A lot of questions if you don't.
Yeah, that was a big time move, though.
That's a we are ready for the playoffs type move.
Right. And I mean, on the flip side, we were talking about before the minor moves that a fledgling team, a team that's rebuilding right now, what do they do in this circumstance? Well, they have a fabulous draft, which we'll start off in our first period topic recap of the Flyers draft, as well as, the Ducks, the Rangers, and many other teams in the NHL. But before we move on, I just will say, right, you boys talked about Garnet Hathaway fitting John Tortorella's system very well, right? Furthermore, I think Marc Staal, not only does he bring that leadership, but he's another Torts-style player. So I think that's a key addition. But you look at some of these lower guys, right? Brian, you mentioned in the description, Rhett Gardner, Ryan Phoeling, Victor Mete. These are just depth guys, 1-year deals. I mean, Gardner got a 2-year deal, but they're just, key depth guys that you can keep and certainly move on from as some of your younger talents ready for them. But they're just going to be solid, consistent guys that are going to give you 18 to 20 minutes a night. And that's all you're looking for, right? But this has been the key thing, and my ultimate point, boys, is that they did some key restricted free agent signings as well with the limited resources that they have, inking Noah Cates, who was a standout young player for this team, Cam York, who is now your number one defenseman, building on that, hopefully with another defenseman that we drafted this year, a relative of a famous NHLer. We'll get into that. But at Ronnie Attard, too, another quality defenseman, all the 2-year deals, all bridge deals, Brian, that can help this team until they're ready to compete for their playoff spots.
Yeah, and I think this was a very smart move on Danny Briere's part, was signing these guys to these bridge deals, especially the RFAs, because we've seen in the past that you're giving some of these young guys these big time contracts and they never really live up to them. This way, you sign them to these 2-year deals where they're making $1.5–2.5 million a year. You're allowing them to continue to grow. You're not putting that pressure on them. It allows them to continue to develop. And you bring in guys like Victor Mete. You bring in a guy like Garnet Hathaway, Marc Staal, to help these guys continue to grow, take the next step forward, and maybe move a little bit closer to getting that big-time contract. Now, for me, Cam York is going to probably be the biggest beneficiary of this because he is top 4 talent with top 2 potential. And I think bringing in a guy like Marc Staal is really going to help him settle in. We know he's an offensive defenseman. We know that he's got that offensive upside. We've seen it. Can he play on his end a little bit better? That's the beauty of bringing in a guy like Marc Staal. Same thing with Garnet Hathaway. You're adding a little bit of physicality. He's not going to score a ton of goals. You're going to be lucky if he gets 10. Garnet Hathaway is a physical player, but he also understands the game, leadership aspects. He's great locker room guy. You're creating a culture for this team to really continue to build off of and continue to grow with. Now, Victor Mete, I'm not sure what exactly they're going to do with him. I think he's going to be another situation where he's 27 years old. He's on a 1-year deal. He's probably going to be your 7th D-man. He's going to rotate with somebody.
Right.
Rhett Gardner, don't know a ton about. I know he's on a 2-year deal. And then who was the other one they signed?
You're talking about Ryan Foley.
Right, yeah. I see him. He's 25, I believe. Again, he's not another guy that you're going to bring in to light the lamp. He's another guy that I guess you can consider a developmental guy.
Yeah.
But if he has a solid year, use him as a trade piece. Like maybe get a second, third round draft pick for him in the upcoming draft. So you have options with some of these guys on the 1-year deal, depending on what they're doing. But for me, the goal was getting these RFAs back under contract. And you have. I think you only got to worry about Morgan Frost now. I think he's the only one that remains unsigned. So if they can get him into a similar deal, I think this has been a win of an offseason for the Philadelphia Flyers.
Right. And then once the cap raises, then you can talk money after those 2 to 3 years pass.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep,
right.
Absolutely.
Well, next year, there's rumors next year it might go up $3 million.
Right.
So, that's huge. So that's why a lot of guys are only doing 1-year deals this year. A lot of guys are okay with doing 1-year deals because they know that there's going to be more money available from all the teams next year. So that's a big factor.
Yeah, a lot of teams are still strapped with the cap, and the Flyers are very limited on what they can do because they've retained a lot of money to get some guys off the books here, and this comment here is one of them. The TDA deal, it is done. It's a done deal. He's in Carolina. The Flyers, I think, retained 50% of his contract. That became official, I think. What day is today? Today's the 11th. I think it became official on the 9th. So that's a done deal. He's in Carolina now, so the Flyers don't have to worry about him.
Why would Hart commit or not commit to staying through the rebuild? I don't see him not committing. I see him saying all the right things. You know what I mean? Like he's just ultimately, it's out of his hands if the organization's going to, trade and move on from him or not. Right. And, you see, a team drafting a lot of more younger, goaltenders in this draft, as we got into the later rounds. Right. And also, the development of stories of goalies already in the organization. So, ultimately, I think he's got. If he were going to be moved, he would have been moved by now. Am I wrong?
No, or you would have been moved at the draft because somebody would have wanted to,
There's
bring
no
him
cap
in.
space. There's no cap space anywhere now.
Right.
That's a big issue now for a lot of teams.
Right.
You know, I mean, I know the Rangers today just re-signed K. Miller. I think it was 3.8 for 2 years.
Oh,
per year.
you didn't like that. You didn't want them to re-sign him too.
No, I really
recall.
didn't. Not for that much.
Right.
Not for that much. But I mean, the one thing though, Rob, is you can't argue 43 points.
Right.
From your
Especially from a defenseman.
second pair defenseman, you know. I mean, that's yeah, he's good at that, but his play in his own end. I mean, he is kind of Tony DeAngelo-ish, if you know what I mean. He's a little bit better defensively than Tony DeAngelo, but he just makes some very thoughtless moves in his own end. That's the problem. I mean, hopefully, you know, the new coach can coach him up a little bit, and that'll stop, because that can't continue. You know,
got Bryce. Yeah, we got Bryce chiming in.
Not a lot. There's not a lot of cap space for anybody now. So I think I agree with you about that.
I mean, if you look at some of these teams that are getting ready to come out of the rebuild, they can afford to bring in a guy like Carter Hart. But the problem is, most of these teams already have a goalie ready. Like Anaheim's got a goalie. Buffalo potentially has a goaltender in that kid. What's his name? Darren Levy or something. Something Levy. So they're committed to him. Detroit has a guy that's getting ready to come up. Minnesota's got a guy that's getting ready to come up in Jesper Wallstedt. So like, if you look at some of these teams that you're like, oh, goaltending's a question mark, they all have somebody. St. Louis, if Binnington doesn't, you know, get back to form, they have what's his name? Joel Hofer, who's potential franchise goaltender. And then Ottawa has some kid. I don't even know how to pronounce it. He's got a lot of vowels in his last name, so I'm not even going to try to pronounce it.
Good move.
There's a lot. Yeah. Listen, all these, but you don't know how any of these guys are going to be in the NHL. They can put up sterling numbers in the minors. It's a whole different ball game in the NHL for goaltenders. So,
no, you're absolutely right. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's a big jump, especially for a goalie. You know, because the guys he's facing in the NHL, every single player in the NHL can score. If they get a clear shot on goal, they're capable of scoring. You know, in the minors, that's not the case. You know, in the AHL or the ECHL or some of these other leagues, that's not always the case. You know, even the worst offensive player in the NHL has the ability to score. If they didn't, they wouldn't be in the NHL, and they won't stay in the NHL very long. So you have to remember that these guys got to the NHL because they can score, even though it may not seem like it. They can.
Yeah, they got to maintain a consistency, otherwise they are going to get sent back down.
Right. So it's just that there's more depth and more quality, and it's a little, even against another team's fourth line, you have to be careful of that. All these guys can put the puck in the net if the goaltending is completely subpar. So you have to just see.
Yeah, but as I was saying earlier, though, you got to remember too, the last couple Cup winners haven't had the best goaltenders either. I mean, Darcy Kemper's average at best, and then Vegas just won it with a third string goaltender. You just got to make sure that you have a good defense in front.
He played out of his mind, though.
Yeah, but that's because the defense put him in good positions to make saves and control rebounds
I agree,
too.
But boy, Aiden Hill played out of his mind, though. I mean, who knows if he's going to play like that next season? But he might. I mean, if he does, boy, Vegas is going to be real tough.
They're going to find out.
Yeah,
they got to worry about. You got to worry about Robin Leonard now. He wants his starting job back. Aiden Hill's going to be a backup.
Right?
Yeah, he might be. Listen, I can remember a player by the name of John Druce. Do you remember him, Rob? Do you remember the name Rob Druce? Okay.
Sure do.
This guy was the shittiest player in the history of hockey. Okay. He played for the Washington Capitals. He was so bad he potentially could trip over the blue line. He went and scored 8 goals in a series against the Rangers. Okay. Rob stinking Druce. No, John Druce. I'm sorry, it was John Druce.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought it was John Druce.
Yeah, John Druce. I mean, some guys just in the playoffs just You know, there have been history. Mike Palmateer in the 70s, who played for the Leafs, comes up into the playoffs and gets the Leafs past the Islanders before the Islanders won the Stanley Cup, and everybody thought he'd be the second coming. And then he gets back into the NHL the next season, and he gets bombed, and he never really made it as a goalie. Jim Craig in the Olympics, remember him? The USA gold medal team from 1980.
I remember.
Yeah, 1980. Remember how good he was in the Olympics? Couldn't stop a football in the NHL. You know, you never know. That's why I'm saying it's questionable until proven. Right? I mean, kind of is what it is. How do you like some of the moves the Rangers made, guys? You start with Blake Wheeler. What do you think about him?
Fabulous addition. I mean, it's prying away from the Jets. I think that's kind of what you need, right? You got to build up the middle.
Yeah, well, he's kind of a right. He's mostly a right wing, but he's tough.
Oh, okay.
He's tough. He can score. I mean, he had 53 points, and they paid $1.2 million for him this year. Well, no, right. I'm sorry, they paid $850,000, and if he gets all his bonuses, he can make $1.2 million on a 1-year deal. I thought that was a really good move. Then they pick up Jonathan Quick, and he'll be the backup goalie instead of Halak, which I think is a major improvement because I was not sold on Halak at all. I was not impressed by the Halak monster. He needs to go back into the Islanders lock and just stay there. But I like Bonino. I think he's good for the fourth line. He can win faceoffs too. So I thought they had a pretty good deal, and I like their first round pick, Gabriel Perreault. That was a really nice pick at 22. I mean, you can't go wrong with a right wing who's a sniper. You know, they were all saying when they picked him that they couldn't believe he was still there. So
I thought the Flyers were taking him. I thought the Flyers were taking him at 22 before taking Oliver Bonk.
Yep.
That's who I thought he would have been a great addition. That's another Perreault the Flyers missed out on.
I know, another one, right?
Another one.
That's right. We were 23. You were 22. That's right.
Yeah.
Right. They pass up on for Bonk. I like it. I love the lineage there. I love that pick because ultimately Bonk could be your D2 with Cam York on the top D pairing for this team. No doubt about it.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, I want to get to American Loyalist question here. Will Trotz be a coach in 3 years?
I think he still will be. I really do. I like the camaraderie he's building with Danny Briere and Keith Jones. I mean, they're really working together in a triad with all these decisions when it came to the draft, and then obviously worked out well. We're about to dive into the Flyers draft as well as, Rangers, Ducks, the rest of the league here in just a second. But I just feel that Torts, I think, was originally hired to be a short-term fix for this culture, and it's turning into a long-term fix. And I think he will be here when this team is back to being a contender.
Totally agree. A lot of comments in here about Carter Hart tonight. Heard there were calls about Carter Hart, but Briere wanted a lot, which I don't blame you. You're trading away a franchise goaltender, potential to be an elite goaltender in this league. And, yeah, you're going to want a lot, especially at 24 years old.
Right.
So apparently, and while you guys were talking, I did look this up. Apparently, this deal for Tony DeAngelo to the Hurricanes is on hold right now.
Right.
It is? I thought it was official.
I thought it was official, too. Apparently, the Hurricanes are trying to get Erik Karlsson. So that's the hold up on that trade, which I kind of don't blame him. That's why I know the name John.
Right now, it's tentatively in place where they pay 50% of Tony D's contract, and they'd be getting back, I think, Maximum Rizzo in the deal. And that's what's been agreed upon, but it's not official.
Yeah, it's been agreed upon. It's not official, especially since now that Erik Karlsson trade talks are starting to heat up again.
Right.
So I thought I saw a bunch of reports about him being traded. That's why I thought it was a done deal. I completely missed that.
I didn't realize it was on hold.
Joe's not happy about Perot. He's been calling for a month.
Yeah, but
he always got it.
Radek Bonk was a good player, so his son should be a pretty good player too, I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, he certainly has had good coaching, that. So,
and then if you think about it, think about how many kids are in the league that are a little bit better than their father. So that's something to look forward to with Oliver, because if he is even half the player that his father was, I think the Flyers have a really good top 4 defender there. So I'm good with Bonk. I'm good with what the Flyers have done this offseason. I think it's been pretty impressive. You definitely tell Danny and Jonesy are trying to build something, build a culture, and put some pride back into the organization. And I think with some of the kids that they drafted and some of the free agents they brought in, that's exactly what they're doing.
Well, they did all the things that a rebuilding team should do. Okay, they didn't do anything stupid, and that in itself has to be a sense of relief to you guys, that they didn't do anything that was ridiculous. They didn't waste their money on anybody. They did the right thing. They got some tough players, some tough veteran players who can go out there and absolutely protect and teach these guys how to play the right way. You got Tortorella to cover and he'll be tough on the kids, but you know what? He's a kinder and gentler John Tortorella now than he was 10 years ago, guys. He kind of is. He kind of is. He's not quite as much of a maniac as he used to be. I think they'll do well. He's going to teach them to play the right way. You know what? When Staal's out there blocking 5 shots a game, the rest of the defensemen and forwards will get the message that this is what this is going to be something that will probably really help the team. It's not just there's a lot more than meets the eye with some of the guys they picked up. Same with Hathaway. He's really gritty, and you know what? Guys like that tend to rub off on young players.
Maybe they do.
They do. There's no question about that.
Right. And Anthony Wright, one of the young players to be rubbed upon is Cole Knuble, who was picked in the 4th round at 103 out of the Fargo Force of the USHL. So he brings that lineage, but he brings some good experience from that.
Is that Mike's kid?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, I know. I remember him. He used to play for the Rangers too.
Yes, sir.
Way back.
He's played
Washington Capitals.
Played for a few teams. Boston Bruins.
Yeah, well, he was good with the Bruins. He wasn't really good with the Rangers. He really wasn't. I mean, you could see he had some talent. The Rangers gave up on him way too early, though. I thought they should have. I mean, they rushed him.
Story of the Flyers, right? Russian kids.
Absolutely. Before we move on to the NHL draft results, right? We've pretty much covered most of Flyers free agency, except one key question that I have for you boys before we head to the second period NHL draft recap. What's next? Any other moves you could see? Guys that could still be dealt. We talked about Tony D a little bit, but after that, is there anything we can expect changing about this roster before October or before the camps begin in September?
I mean, obviously, you got to get Morgan Frost back on the contract. You got to get his deal done and get him ready to go. After that, I'm not sure. Start getting some of these kids signed. Michkov could be over for. I think I heard something about him being possibly there for training camp this year, and figuring out a way to get out of his contract with the KHL and back over to the NHL. Outside of that, I don't think there's anything that they really need to do. If he can move Sanheim, great, but his full no movement clause is in effect now, so they need him to okay any trade that they have. He has the right to veto all of them. But I mean, I'm good. I'm going into camp with the roster as is and adjusting as the season goes along.
Right on, right on. I agree with that. I agree with that. And wrapping up our first period, tell you about eXp Realty. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, or you're looking for a change in career or brokerage, contact Alan Foye, eXp Realty LLC at 302-682-8820, or visit them at Alan Foye at exprealty.com. Flyers did take Matvei Michkov at 7. And he's been the topic of a lot of discussion today on Twitter and on certain podcasts. And before we jump into this, boys, and we'll go into your guys' team's picks as well. I like the move because I personally thought Flyers were one of the teams that could certainly wait for him and wait for a contract with SKA to expire before he comes over. Any legal legislation through Russian politics right now. They're one of the few teams that could. And you got a guy that's a generation. I mean, teams are sweating this pick for the first time in I don't know how long with a Flyers first round draft pick. They're sweating our pick instead. So yeah, we may have missed out on Pearl in 22, right? Maybe that might have been a misstep, but I like Bonk and I like it because you got this kid. Brian, if those rumors are true, that's even better, right? But bottom line is, he is still under contract with SKA. And that's a key point. You have a lot of irresponsible journalism going on right now and podcast clickbait going out there with rumors of character issues and being an abusive teammate, that he's kicked his teammates while they were down, right? Brad, you talked about it before. It's 18-year-old kid, right?
That was my whole point. I read that stuff and I was like, how the hell do they know? If they actually gone to Russia and watched the game and check and were watching the bench to see how he treated his teammates, I mean, come on, where do you get this crap?
I don't even want to give credit to the podcast. You know what I mean? A certain guy that names rhymes with Rizzo. Talking this nonsense, and you don't know. You don't quote any sources. This is just all hearsay from teammates apparently calling him a real piece of shit, right? Well, you know what? I'm sure a lot of Sidney Crosby's teammates called him a piece of shit too, right? But 18 years old, has some maturing to do. We saw that happen with Crosby. I'm not comparing the kid to Crosby just yet, but this kind of is a similar thing. Bottom line, boys, all of this makes zero sense for him to play for SKA this season and beyond. If this was true, why would they not be cutting bait with him now?
Because he's a great player and he's obviously not that bad.
Right.
It's just somebody has to. Let's put it this way: somebody has to piss in your popcorn. That's all. That's all that is.
Well, these reports.
You can't go by that stuff. It's way too early. He's 18 years old.
Right.
I mean, listen, the guy who what's his name, Wright? The guy that got picked last year by Seattle, by the Kraken. Shane Wright. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Nobody. It's funny how nobody mentioned what a big asshole he was until he came up to Seattle. They did a little bit. They did, but you know what? But Canada,
after the pick, just like this one. After the pick, just like this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good comparison.
But you know what? There's a little
comparison.
But there's a difference. The difference is that everybody in Canada watches junior hockey.
Right.
So they might know. Right. Okay.
Right.
I'm sure people in Russia, you don't know what the hell that they're going to say in Russia. They could be saying that because they want the guy to stay and they don't want him to leave and play in the United States. So who the hell knows? And I wouldn't even pay one bit of attention to that. When I read that, I just started laughing. I was like, yeah, right. Yeah. Keep trying. Whoever said that's obviously trying to, throw some shit against the wall to see if it sticks. It's just
well, they've been putting these reports out before the draft even started, because I remember seeing it on a couple different sites. So, I mean, yeah, he's 18. He's got some maturing to do. He's got some growing to do. Absolutely. But, I mean, these reports aren't exactly brand new. If you go back and look at some of the A2D posts, I put it there after the Michkov's draft pick. I've said something about that in there. I was like, okay, this is a great pick. There's a lot of potential here. But if the character issue rumor is true, this could become a problem. However, I will say on the bright side, there is a bright side to this. If, depending on what the issue is, if there is any, could bring some passion into the locker room. Could get the guys fired up. Now, obviously, we don't know. We're not in the locker room. We're not. I don't think any of us have been to Russia. I know I haven't. I'm not going to speak for you guys. If you guys have been to Russia, great, cool. Let me know how it was. But I don't think anybody really knows for sure. But there's a reason why this kid fell to 7. He was a top 3 talent.
Because nobody wanted to wait 3 years.
Or he really does have character issues, and somebody saw something. 6 teams in front saw something they didn't like about him.
Well,
that's not a talent thing.
I don't think. I think it was a 3-year wait, and they did a lot of these GMs are worried that they're going to get fired, and by the time he comes, they're not even going to be there to
Right.
Even though they drafted him, they're not going to be there to reap the rewards. That's why these guys were all passing on him.
Right, and whether the character issues came out a week before the draft, a day before the draft, after the draft, Brian, I'm not going to disagree with you with the timing there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But where was this talk months ago when we were doing mock drafts? The whole deal was, all I heard was, you're going to have to wait on the kid.
Yeah.
Nothing about character issues. I just think it's mudslinging.
It could be. It absolutely could be. I mean, because you're right. Reading everything that we've read, nothing to say about his character issues. It could be mudslinging. Now, I mean, do you know when they do the prospect interviews for the teams? Because maybe something came out after them.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know for sure because, like I said, I don't know when they do the prospect interviews that the teams do, but. Maybe something came out after that. I don't know. But again, I mean, you bring up a valid point, Rob. Where was this in the mock draft?
And honestly, even if he's a pain in the ass, bottom line is plenty of teams have won with guys who are pains in the asses. Okay, so
right.
That's just it's
Crosby.
Yeah. I can think of another guy who used to play for Toronto. By the name of, what was his name? Phil Kessel, I believe. He was a great teammate, wasn't he? I mean, nobody could stand him. But you know what? When he came to Pittsburgh, it's funny how when he came to Pittsburgh, they won the Cup 2 years in a row.
Right.
And, ever since they got rid of him, they haven't gotten out of the first round. I mean, is it me, or is there something to that? And nobody was a worse teammate than Kessel, right?
Joe's been on fire with all of these comments. Give him love, Brian.
Absolutely, Joe. Absolutely agree with you,
right,
bro.
Brian.
It's such a great gamble that if his ceiling is the next Ovechkin, which I've heard that comparison before.
If that's the case,
it's worth it.
Listen, you're not going to win the Stanley Cup for the next 3 years. Okay, I don't care who you bring in. You're starting from scratch, basically. Okay, in 3 years, you're going to have some good young players. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to be adding a top talent to your team. Okay, and you know what? He's going to be a lot more mature then. And another thing is, when he comes to the NHL, guess what? If everybody hears that he's an ass, he's going to get nailed into the boards a few times, and you know what? That'll toughen him up and bring a little humility to him.
Wonder how true that comment is. What do you think, Rob?
The way Danny Briere was talking was that Michkov tanked other interviews because he wanted to play in Philly. 1,000% agree. I've read this in a couple. He did not want to play in Washington because that makes sense, because he would totally be under Ovechkin's shadow. You know what I mean?
Of course he would.
1,000%. Right?
Why would he want to do that?
Right.
Yeah, you can't play. Yeah, everybody's going to be comparing him. He doesn't need that.
It just absolutely. So I think to your point, he wants to play here. So even if the kid has a bad attitude and these hack journalists are right in their assumptions and their rumors, well, you know what? He's in the place he wants to be. So you'll get primetime Michkov. And then if he's a Lindros and cries later, then so be it. It's not like we haven't been down that road before.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I heard he didn't want to be in Arizona for sure. I heard he didn't want to be in Washington, and I heard he didn't want to go to Montreal. So
right, Montreal, that was the other team. Yeah,
it makes sense.
Right.
No Russians want to play in Montreal.
Just the French.
Just because the fans, the Montreal fans hate Russians. I mean, that's been going on since the Russians since the Canada. What was it? Since the Soviet series with Team Canada back in '71, one with Paul Henderson. They've always hated each other. I'm sure the kid probably has been told all kinds of horror stories about Montreal. Why would he want to play there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Stereotypes pass across generations. For sure.
How many Russians play there? Yeah, no, it's true. And how many Russians have played there and been really successful in Canada, in Montreal?
That's true.
I bet you have to really think hard about that one, because I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Yeah. Right. Jake Friel, real quick, want to give him love. Getting back to this comment there, Brian. That's one thing I hate about drafts. A prospect has one bad interview with the team, and they'll characterize them as a cancer. It's a joke. 1,000%, Jake. Just like we see in the NFL, you see it in the NHL. You can check out Jake Birds of Birds of a Feather Thursday nights. Thank you. Jeez, I had it. Why didn't it roll out with it? Damn, sorry.
You had it.
Right.
Yeah. It's not my side. I second guess myself too much.
Yeah, they do a great job over there. They're doing all their position rankings over the offseason, so they're getting ready to get ramped up there for training camps opening up in a few weeks. It's actually less than a few weeks. This is a couple weeks.
Yeah,
isn't it the first week of August?
I think so, because it's a shorter camp now, right? Because they're not doing as many. They're doing three preseason games, so now they're short. Yeah. Camp's a little bit shorter.
By the way, 93 days till first Ranger game.
Funny how quick the offseason goes, right?
Yeah. Somebody had a picture of Mika Zibanejad and the back and his number, and then they said that's how many days before opening night. Okay, sounds good.
I mean, I like the Rangers. Like Rangers setup is they're pretty set.
Well, they're trying to figure out a way to They're trying to figure out a way to sign Tarasenko, because Tarasenko was going to sign with the Canes, and then his wife had a fit because his wife, for whatever reason, wants to stay in New York City. So he's kind of waiting on the Rangers to figure it out cap wise, because they want to bring him back.
I heard his new agent company pulled that deal out and said, "Hey, we're going to negotiate something else for you." I heard it had nothing to do with his wife. It's his new agent.
No, it was his wife. That was reported in New York. She wants, Mrs. Tarasenko wants to. They've been making funny comics in the New York Post with Mrs. Tarasenko and his agent with a Ranger banner in the back. So I don't know. I don't know if she's like really hot and wants to be a model and be in New York. I have no idea. Maybe that's it. I have no idea. But apparently his wife wants to stay in New York, and he loved it there, and he knows the Rangers don't have cap space, so they're trying to move Boudreau to get the cap space to get a 1-year deal. So we'll see about that one. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, that's okay.
Sure. Little update for our baseball fans that are choosing to tune into us instead of watching the MLB All-Star Game. It's tied 1-1, bottom of the fifth. Pitcher's duel of all the great arms on both sides. Luis Arraez batting 383 on the season, 2 for 2 in the All-Star Game.
Of course he is.
I mean, who's watching the All-Star Game? This show is way more entertaining than the All-Star Game.
Yeah, nobody watches that. That's why I gave the update.
Yeah, my man.
Yeah. All of a sudden, all the screens are going off. Oh yeah, forgot about that. Yeah, our boy on Monday nights, Doug Minkiewicz, the baseball player. he said if he was with the Twins when they were talking about trading him, he would have tackled him before he got to the door to leave.
Nice. Love it. That's why I always love that, dude. I'm glad to see like certain people fit the image that you have for him. And Doug Mankiewicz always has struck me as a guy I want as a teammate. You know what I mean? Like just a real blue collar, hard worker, loyal guy. That's just how I saw him as a player.
Yeah, well, you know what? With us, he'll stay until he gets a job on MLB Network or one of those big networks because it's we know it's only a matter of time. He's too good.
Sure.
I think he did a great job. He did a great job last night talking about your prospect on the Phillies. By the way, the number.
Oh yeah, Aiden Miller.
He went through a whole. He had him last year on his All-Star team. You know, he does the 18 and under for the Olympic team, and you know he does it with three other guys. They picked 4 teams, and he had him last year. He said that guy was ridiculously good. He was killing the guy. He was killing the guy the Yankees picked. He said he's a guy. He plays great during batting practice, and then chokes during the game. And this guy that you picked was just like a complete stud. He's going to be one of the best. He's going to be one of the best hitters in the league when he comes up. So just what I want to hear.
Jumping back real quick to Tarasenko. Here's a Elliot Friedman tweet. Vladimir Tarasenko has new representation. J.P. Barry and Pat Brinson of CAA. What this means is no deal in place with any team, but process resets today. So the deal fell apart not because of his wife, but because of his new representation. Because he fired him as soon as the contract was signed, and it all fell apart. But I mean, she may want to still stay there, and he may still want to stay there. But
that's from what I've heard, from what they've been saying in New York from the New York Post, who usually is pretty good with the Rangers. I know they put a lot of stupidity out there, which we all know because it's a rag. But
they all do. Yeah, they all do.
Yeah, but they've been mentioning a lot and a lot about his wife really wants to stay in New York, and he's he liked it there and that sort of thing. And I think where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah, I mean, most times than not.
He hasn't been signed yet. There's got to be something to that, and I have a feeling as soon as the Rangers get rid of Gaudreau, that you're going to see him. And listen, I love Gaudreau, but I mean, if you're asking me who I'd rather have on the team, I mean, is that really a question?
I mean, yeah, I get it. I mean, I take Tarasenko over Gaudreau.
Yeah.
Gaudreau.
Yeah, you can. I mean, I like him as a player, Gaudreau, but not. He's a fourth line player. And you put Tarasenko on that team for a whole season, he's going to be pretty good.
But yeah, so discussing a little bit of the Flyers draft here. We went into Michkov a little bit. We went into Oliver Bonk a little bit more in the first segment. I want to jump over to the Rangers here real quick before we jump over to the Ducks and their, I don't want to say massive fumble, but they juggled their pick a little bit.
Which one are we talking about?
What do you think of outside of Gabe Perreault overall, Brad? How do you feel about the Rangers draft?
Very wishy-washy about it. I don't know that they really help themselves all that much with the rest of the guys they picked. I think Perreault was a great pick. I think he's going to be a really solid player. The other guys, I mean, quite honestly, I don't know enough about them to make a stand about it. But I mean, listen, they didn't have a second round pick. Okay, they had a third round pick. They didn't have a fourth round pick. So you're talking about a first and a third, a fifth, and 2 sevenths. So I mean, how good can they possibly be when they're being drafted that low? I mean, I know they've had a couple of third round picks who've really been good players, and I get that. And the best example of a third pick that's been a good player is the guy on the guy on the Panthers, the black guy. Now I can't remember. Duclair. he was a third-round pick, and he's turned into a very, very good player. So, I mean, they have had some success with third-round players, but
Real
yeah,
quick,
we'll
there is facial here to people that are saying that I look like Hitler. I'm Jewish. That's really fucked up. I really appreciate you stopping commenting like that.
Jesus Christ. Come on, guys.
No, I agree. He's getting a little out of hand. I'm about to boot him.
Okay, there's gray there. It's gray. It just happens to be mostly black right here.
Why do you think I don't
so
grow a
people know.
beard? Why do you think I don't grow a beard anymore?
Yeah, might be time for me
The
to
last
shave
time
too.
the last time I grew a beard, somebody called me Summer Santa because I had sunburn on my face in the summer. So I was called Summer Santa because I had the white beard and the red face. So,
Oh, Summer Santa. I mean, I listen. I can't get rid of my beard. My beard is my whole identity.
oh, there you
I
go.
can't do
You
it.
could
It's a
always-
little salt and pepper in the chin, and it's fine.
Yeah, but once it becomes all salt, then it's no fun.
Why not?
Well, you know.
It shows your wisdom in your life. It shows wisdom. You're an
okay.
experienced
that it?
person. You're
Yeah, but
wise.
But you wear your beard well. You look good.
Hey,
with it.
listen. All right. Let me make you feel a little better here, Brad. Let me do that.
Okay.
If you look at every like magician, magical, like movie, show, book, whatever, every wizard is portrayed with a long white beard. There you go. Wise. Just trying to make you feel better. Trying to make Robbie feel better too. It's a little bit of,
Yeah.
Who cares if it's a little gray? Who cares? It's wisdom. That's experience.
Oh, okay. Or age.
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, well,
You want to put a negative spin on it? Fine. Put a negative spin on it. That's
I got
you.
you.
I'm gonna.
I got you. Yeah, but you wear it well, though. That's the difference.
Yeah, well, not everybody can rock it, but I got you, boys. I got you.
No,
boys.
it's there's certain people that rock it well, and some look like Santa Claus, like a summer like Summer Santa. You know, especially in the summer. Imagine a white beard and a bright red sunburned face.
It sounds the story of my life.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump back to hockey real quick here.
Yes.
I want to jump over and we'll talk Ducks real quick. They a lot of people think they fumbled the second pick. I kind of think they didn't. I don't think they fumbled the second pick. I do think they bobbled the ball a little bit, taking Leo Carlson over Adam Fantilli. For those who've been watching this show religiously, like who's been with us, especially most of the offseason, knows that I'm big fan of
you.
Adam
Yeah, you
Fantilli.
were a big fan of his.
Was I upset at the pick? Kind of. I wasn't like, let's go burn down the Honda Center pissed off, but I was kind of like, okay, why are you going with Fantilli? Or we're not going with Fantilli here. Why Leo?
Right.
A lot of it has to do with, apparently, this is a report, and I know this is coming actually from Adam Fantilli's mouth. So the report is he didn't want to go to Anaheim. He wanted to go to Columbus. Wanted to play with Johnny. It's closer to home, closer to his family, and closer to Michigan, where he is probably going to play next. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. I think he signed his ELC, so I don't think he is going back to Michigan. But regardless, he wanted to be in Columbus. And
I heard that too. I didn't hear it coming out of his mouth. I heard a report. But listen, if that's the case, you don't want to take somebody who doesn't want to be there. I mean, it's plus,
absolutely.
Brian, look at the bright side. Look at it this way, okay? When the Devils had the first round pick, okay, they had a choice of now I forgot the guy's name, Nico Hershier or Nolan Patrick. Everybody said Nolan Patrick was going to be was the first round pick. Everybody said that he's by far and away. I remember when they picked Nico Hershier, the Devil fans were not happy.
Right.
They booed. They were booing that. And meanwhile, Hershier is one of the best players on their team. Other than other than Jack Hughes, he's the best player on the team. And this could be the same situation. You don't really know.
And Nolan Patrick's brains are scrambled like eggs. I get your point. I get it, right? I think the bottom line it works out to is that Fantilli at least played college hockey or is from Michigan, correct?
Yeah, both.
Both, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is a purely I want to play close to home move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And some guys can make such a big stink, and that's fine. You know what? You don't want to.
When you're a top 3 pick, you can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know what? I think the Ducks were smart. If the guy doesn't want to play there, and don't then if he doesn't want to be a Duck, screw him.
Right. I mean, if there's a huge drop off from 2 to 3, then you pick them and you'd be like, tough shit, you're playing for us, right? But Leo Carlson, I mean, easily could have went 1, 2, or 3 in any draft.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I'm not overly upset with it, because I know he's good. They're saying he hasn't looked great in developmental camp, but I think he's going to go back to juniors for 1 more year, which I'm okay with. But from what I'm hearing from a few people, he's not looking great. He's not really putting. I don't want to say he's not really putting the effort out there, but he's not showing off his full skill potential.
Oh, he might be bored too.
But I mean, I like his style a little bit better than Fantilli. I thought Fantilli just had the scoring upside, the more creative offense. But I'm good either way. I like Leo. I liked Fantilli. I'm happy with the Ducks draft for the most part. I'm even happier with their free agency so far. So it's been a good offseason.
Fantilli is going to be the next Lafreniere. Oh boy, I hope that doesn't happen to him.
That's right. I like Don's comment. He's going to come to the Wings soon, apparently. Everybody's going to Detroit.
It's fashionable.
It is fashionable.
Now, the Ducks followed that up with the first pick in round 2, Nico Matoyevich.
I think it's Matoyevich.
Yeah. Evaluate that player and the rest of your draft.
I mean, it was a good move. I think I'm actually looking up his thing right now. Just give me 1 second.
Wow, and then you had 2 picks back to back later in the second round at 27 and 28, taking Kerry Terrence and Damian Clara.
Yeah.
Wow.
I like
3 top 60 players. No, 4.
Right. And then the first pick in round 3, Brad, with Colson Petrie. How you guys work that out? Damn.
4 picks in the first 60.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah,
very nice. And this was a deep draft. So you guys did real well.
Yeah.
You stocked your farm system now.
Yeah,
Sure.
Our farm system's stocked. I like this kid, Matoyev. He's got a lot of creative things up his sleeve as far as offense goes. He's a terrific skater. I'd say he's probably like 2 years away from breaking on the roster, but he's got a lot of upside to his game. But I mean, Pat Verbeek, I didn't realize how many freaking picks that they had in the first 3 rounds. I'm sitting there watching the second day. I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, picking a second, missed it, but that's fine. I like the pick. And then like they had 2 more picks in the second round. I'm like, okay, okay, another pick in the 3rd round. I'm like, oh, what's going on here? We're restocking here. I love it. I can't really speak too much on the other guys that they took. I know they took one of the kids that they took was a goalie, I believe in the 2nd round. So they don't expect too much out of him anytime soon with Dostal there, and now they got George Alexander, who might potentially be but future backup. They still have Ali Eriksson Ek, the goaltender. He's probably going to play backup this year with Stolarz going to Florida. So, I mean, overall, I thought it was a good draft for the Ducks. I like that they addressed what they addressed and where they addressed the needs. And, now I'm looking to see these players develop and see what the pro club can do, especially with signing guys like Radko Gudas and Alex Killorn. Let's fucking go, boys.
That's two big signings. That's two big signings that bring him closer to playoff position.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Leadership and muscle.
Right. Now, Brad, we talked about Gabe Perreault going to you guys at 23, and on the ops end of the spectrum, you guys didn't pick again until, what was it,
Third
the
round.
26th pick? Yeah, the third round with Drew Fortesque.
Oh, Fortescue or whatever is.
Fortescue.
I think it's Fortescue. Yeah. Again, I don't know a lot about him.
Mm-hmm.
They've been saying he's a good skater, blah 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 blah. He can score, but we'll see. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, a late third round pick is a late third round pick. We'll just have to see how he turns out.
Yeah.
But
sure.
but really, as I said, the only guy I see playing for the team is going to be Perreault, and I think Perreault probably will start in. From what I understand, it sounds like he's going to play in the AHL in his first year, which is good.
Sure, that is good.
Yeah,
and he's developed to a point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the guy they drafted, Oathman, due to birthday considerations, couldn't play in the AHL last year, so he's played his first 2 years in juniors. But they're saying he's so good he might be able to make the team. So we'll see about that.
And then they miss a fifth round selection again, probably from deals, working to build the team up to that, playoffs runs.
Well, that was they gave up a second and a fourth for Kane, and they gave up a first to get Tarasenko to the Blues, but that was Dallas's first round pick. That ended up being the 30th pick, I think, or the 29th pick. So
and you guys have a pretty young, previously rebuilt team too, with still a deep farm system. So maybe it was less important for you guys to be invested in this draft as star laden as it was. I see they pick again in round 5 with Rasmus Larson.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I think he's related to Adam. So we'll see about that one.
Okay.
Adam Larson, if you remember him, Devils.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I believe I believe he's related to him. I'm not sure if they're brothers or what the deal is, but they're related. Right. He's supposed to be pretty good. We'll see about that. I mean, again, in the 5th round, you can't. It's hard to figure out some of these things. And they had 2 7th round picks. God only knows, but I do remember 1 7th round pick that was really, really good for the Rangers, Mr. Lundqvist. So I guess you never know.
Right. Certainly, we'll see how
goalies are a little different though than forwards and defensemen.
Sure.
Because goalies never go early. That's just not a thing unless you're Tom Barrasso or Fleury. That just doesn't happen.
But that's what kind of stirred up more Carter Hart trade rumors, though, because coming back to the Flyers, we talked about Michkov going at 7 and Oliver Bonk going at 22 in the first round, right? Moving on from there, Flyers picked a goaltender pretty high, and some consider the best U.S. goaltender in this draft in Carson Bjarnason, a goalie out of Brandon, WHL.
What do they the Wheat Kings?
Mm-hmm.
The Wheat Kings, indeed.
Yeah, see.
So they got him at yeah, you do. Yes, you do. Now they get him
what round do they pick him?
Second round.
2, second round pick.
Okay.
51,
that's a high. That's
pretty early.
Pretty high. They must be.
Yeah.
They must be pretty sure about him. Well, you know what's going to happen? They can't put him in his first year. They're gonna let him play in the AHL, and they're gonna and you know what? We'll see how he plays. If he plays well in the AHL, then there's a chance you could see Carter Hart moved at the deadline. I'll tell you what, if he got moved at the deadline, you could fleece somebody.
Right.
I think you could get a bigger. I think you could get a bigger haul at the trade deadline than you can in the summer.
Right.
Because
Well,
in the
Brad, my
summer,
ultimate point here is that you get Carson in the second round, right? Third round, your next pick at pick 87, you go another goaltender, another Russian as well, in Igor Zvarnin, right? Now, what I think this tells me is that these are your contingency plans for an exact move like you're talking about. Build depth, and this is where Briere, who was criticized for not having enough experience to be in this role, is showing great experience, especially influenced by
I
Keith
think they did.
Jones.
I think those guys did a great job drafting this year. They really did. I mean, look, they had a high pick. That doesn't hurt. But look, they did what they had to do. I think they've done very well with I like their free agent signings. I think they did a good job drafting. I think that it's tough to have to wait 3 years for a player, but you know what? They're not gonna win the Stanley Cup in the next 3 years. So you know what?
No.
If the idea is not to make the playoffs but to win a championship, then
Right.
which is always how I feel. Okay, I think
Or rebuild the right way, as he said many times over.
Yeah, well, they have to do it. They have to do it that way. So you know what? They're building their farm system. They're building something with the goalies, and that's a good idea because you know what? You can't trade Carter Hart unless you have, a goalie that can come in and be a possible franchise goalie. If they have a young goalie who's got the capability of being and he proves it in the NHL, or rather in the AHL, then by all means trade him. And then you can really stock the farm system. I would do it like next year. Well, I would do it at the trade deadline this year because you know what? Somebody's going to lose their goalie. One of the top teams is going to have a goalie get hurt, and they're going to need a goalie, and you know what? And he's going to be sitting there, and everybody's going to be saying, "Wow, this guy's making all these sensational saves," and we really need a goalie, and I'll trade a couple of first rounders for him. That's what the Flyers need to see happen.
Certainly.
To
Flyers fans,
the team that's stupid enough to do that, in my opinion, is the Toronto Maple Leafs. So if you're asking me the betting line on who's going to be the idiots that are going to rebuild the Flyers, the Toronto Maple Leafs young players, some of their young players in their farm system will rebuild the Flyers. Tell you what, what would not surprise me is if they could get one of those young players that that are part of the core of the team, because they're going to have to get rid of. I think they're going to get rid of Nylander at some point this season. I mean, would you do a deal like that? So you had Nylander and a high pick for him, for Carter Hart. Is that a deal you would find acceptable? Or are you not that high on Nylander?
No, I am high on Nylander. I kind of like that a lot, but you have to get a first round pick, I think, too.
Well, yeah, I think they could. I think they could, though.
Yeah,
I think they could. I mean, Toronto is in salary cap hell, and really can't do much of anything right now.
Right.
And Carlson, they're having a lot of trouble. Nylander, they're having a lot of trouble with him. So we'll see what happens. But I would think Toronto might be the team because it just seems like every goalie they get gets worse and worse every year. Am I wrong?
Some solution.
Yeah, they never get a solution. Everybody they pick stinks.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, and if they're good the year before and they go to Toronto, suddenly they stink. It's like Toronto, and don't take this the wrong way. Toronto has become the Mets of the NHL. Because if you remember when the Mets, every time the Mets got a star, and they trade for a star, they come to the Mets and just totally suck. Well,
it's still happening, Brad. It's still happening right now.
Yeah, I know, and it's not your fault.
Justin Verlander won the Cy Young last year. I know he's 40, but from Cy Young to this.
Yeah, but he was 39 last year, so.
He's 40 now.
Yeah, it's not that big a difference. Still throws hard.
Younger than I thought.
Yeah.
All right, let's get the Flyer fan 1995's comment here. He goes, thoughts on drafting Bonk, Newell, and not Perot for Carter, Sutherland, and Chiernik. Yeah, and to recap the rest of the Flyers draft, we had Denver Barkley from the London Knights of the OHL draft in the third round as well after they got their second goaltender. Knuble in the fourth. Alex Chiernik from the Swedish league. Love it. Just to answer your question. Love that league. Love drafting players from that league. This is now our second of the draft. And Carter Sutherland, a defenseman from the WHL Portland Winterhawks, followed by Ryan McPherson and Matteo Mann in picks round 6 and 7. Passing on Pro might bite us in the ass, and you can further that point, Brian, but I love the depth of defense that they've rebuilt, because you had to, because there were so many flops before.
Absolutely. And that's kind of the big thing you're looking at here. You're in the first round, you've already addressed your offense with, really, in my opinion, the number 4 guy in the draft. So you touched on your scoring there. And you had to go defense, because who do you really have in the system? I mean, I like Ronnie Attard, but he's not a top 2 guy. I like Cam York. He's got top 2 potential, but realistically, he's probably going to be a top 4 guy. You just traded away I know a lot of people don't see him that way. I know, Robbie, you specifically don't see him that way, but Provorov is a top 2 guy. Sanheim is proving to be a top 4 guy. You got to keep that going. I'd rather have a defensive core full of top 2, top 4 guys than have, obviously your top 6, your third pairing defenseman. But, yeah, I think it was a great move to go to defense in the later round. You had a solid defenseman who's, I think, he was one of the top 5 defensemen in the draft, sitting for you there at 22. You already addressed offense. Might as well strengthen the defensive pipeline. I love it. And a lot of people are saying a lot of great things about Bonk and his style of play and how he's going to fit right in.
Yeah, I thought you guys did an outstanding job. You did. It was well thought out. I think your organization right now is going the right way. They're doing it the right way, and hopefully Flyer fans will be patient with this team and not get too disgusted, because rebuilding is, if it's done the right way, it only takes a couple of years. And if they're trying, and they seem to be trying to build inside out, which is the right way to go. Inside out is the goalie. You get your goalie, you get your defenseman, and then you get your snipers. And they seem to be trying to make sure that they do that. So, they've got the situation under control. And if it doesn't work out with Carter Hart, you've got a couple of guys in the bank now who you can look at as future goalies. And if that works out, then you can trade him and really, really restock the team.
Agreed. No, well said, Brad. Well said. Before we get we'll take a look at several of the other top picks that went in this historic draft, as well as more free agency talk in around the league. I want to give you a quick word from Philly Sports Trip.
Hey, Birds fans, the NFL schedule has arrived and Philly Sports Trips has all the details now. Visit the site phillysportstrips.com. This is sure to be an epic season. Be sure to go there now to make sure that you don't get shut out. Join us in Tampa, LA, Seattle, or when we get revenge in Kansas City. Don't want to fly? No problem. Gather up your crew and hop aboard one of our signature boisterous bus trips to DC or New York. Sign up now and make sure to mention A2D. Don't miss out on the best Philly fan experience anywhere. Philly Sports Trip customers always stay at the best hotels and meet NFL legends. Book today.
Thank you very much. And if you're just joining us tonight, tonight's poll, the Philadelphia Flyers have improved the roster heading into the 2023-24 season. Agree or disagree? Let's hear from you down in the comments. It's being brought to you by All Campus, home of the A2D Rand booth. It's giving all away 20% off everything in their store, including hats, shirts, and their team cornhole sets to all of our subscribers here at A2D Radio. So go check them out. Take a little trip down the boardwalk. It's summertime. Let's go. Ocean City.
Yet another perk to being an A2D member. I'm telling you, we need to get more.
For sure. So, boys, you talked about, you did such a great job, by the way, breaking down, previewing the 2023 draft and giving your mocks and discussing the mocks out there. Yes, Brian Daly, Brad Ryer, Rob Povia, Matt Tsuti, who's off. Happy birthday, Matty. Also, too, gave his points pre-drafting. So now that we see how it worked out, surprises as you expected. What were some of your thoughts for the opening round or any of the draft?
I mean, there was a bunch of surprises. I think under the table, I think the Washington Capitals had a great draft getting both guys that I wanted. For the Flyers, getting Ryan Leonard, and they got these still. It's a good thing I got a baseball bat right here. I'm ready to smash my computer because I wanted Andrew Castal in the second round, and he went to Washington. But it's fine, I guess. I thought Washington had a great draft. I thought Arizona really took a reach in the first round. I thought they not a good draft for them at all. I love the pick for Montreal with David Reinbacher, and I don't know what's up with Carey Price, but he may need some help. But I felt so bad for the kid when he flubbed his name.
What happened there, man? That was,
I don't know.
Carey Price, did he freeze on the microphone, or is he?
That had to be it. That's all
I don't know. He was just like, he even said later, he's like, I'm sorry, I just completely forgot his name. I'm like, oh, this poor kid. He's got such a legendary guy from his organization getting ready to, but you know what? Montreal made it up to him. They allowed him to sign his contract with his parents on the phone. So great for Reinbacher. So I love that pick for them. I think they need to start focusing a little bit more on defense.
Did he call him Rosenbagger?
No.
Rosenhoser?
Rutabaker.
Get in there.
But I mean, the biggest surprise for me in the draft was Anaheim not taking Anna Fantilli at number 2. That to me was the biggest surprise of the draft.
We talked about Will Smith a lot. He goes number 4 to San Jose Sharks. I think that was a fabulous pick by them.
Oh my God, it was so good. I love that kid. That kid's gonna be so good. That was such a
and
good pick for them.
I did want the Flyers to get Ryan Leonard, but since they, Michkov, slipped down, I think do you think that was a misstep? Should they have gone for Ryan Leonard there? I mean, the consensus seems that they made the right move.
That was smart. They did the right thing.
Yeah, best player available.
You have to. Yeah, you got in their situation. They're still a couple years away. Right. So they did the right thing. You got to get the best available. Even if you have to wait for them, you got to get the best player out there. They did.
Apparently
this guy could be as good as Bedard. Who the hell knows?
I mean, they're saying that this kid could be over sooner than 3 years. I think they're currently working on getting him out of his KHL contract, so he could be over sooner than later. Which is
that's just going to be if the team lets him.
I think they will. I think he's got to finish up this year, I think, and then they're going to allow him to.
Well, if it's 1 year, then boy, did the Flyers make a steal of a move.
Terrific NWO profile pick, my man, Chrome. Well done.
Oh, yeah, look at that. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
New World Order.
It's too sweet. Dalibor Dvorsky going at 10 to the Blues. I really like that pick. I think they got a good talent there at 10.
Absolutely, and it's a great value as well. I mean, at 10, Dvorsky was talked about being taken into the top 10.
Right.
Saw a lot of mock drafts of Arizona taking him as 6.
Right.
But that's great value for them at 10. I love the pick for them too.
Nice. Any other thoughts about the draft, free agency, things that you boys have seen? You liked that pickup for X team or Y team there?
I like. Oh well, we saw this earlier about American Loyalists saying "Heart to the Kings." You need a goalie. They do now. I think as far as the draft goes, there's not really much more that I really need to say about it. As far as free agency goes, Boston Bruins I thought had a pretty good busy first day of free agency, signing Kevin Shattenkirk, getting some defensive depth there, picking up a power play specialist in James Van Riemsdyk because that's all he's really good for anymore. They've been busy. They re-signed Ian Mitchell. They traded away Taylor Hall and Nick Foligno to free up some cap space and make some moves and give himself a little bit of breathing room.
Tough loss though with what's his name, the guy they got from Detroit last year. Can't remember his name
now. Boston?
Yeah. Who was the guy that they got from the left wing? I can't remember his name now. Who was they got him at the trade deadline? The guy they got at the trade deadline.
Taylor Hall?
No, not Taylor Hall. It was last season.
Oh.
I'm trying to think of who they traded at left wing. Oh, it's Tyler Bertuzzi.
Right, yes.
Tyler Bertuzzi.
Yeah, I thought that was
wrong Tyler. Fuck.
Sorry, guy. Yeah, I couldn't remember his name, but that's the guy I'm talking about. That was a tough loss for them because I know they really wanted it. I think half the situation was with them getting him was getting rid of some of their forwards was so that they could re-sign him, and it just didn't work out.
No, I mean, for me specifically, and I definitely want to get some of your input here, Rob. Next is Toronto letting Thomas Bunting go. Certainly they made up for it by bringing in Bertuzzi. I think Bertuzzi only signed a 1-year deal. But
where did Bertuzzi end up going?
Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah, they let Bunting walk, and then they wound up signing him. Bunting, I think, was a bigger mistake. I mean, you replace one young player with another young player, that's all well and good. But I think Bunting has more of an upside offensively than Tyler Bertuzzi does. I think you're getting a little bit more of a physical edge with Bertuzzi.
Yeah, they're playing to win now. That's pretty obvious.
You've been doing that since like 2004.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty sad. Yeah.
Robbie, what are you thinking?
I think it's a good move. I think it's a quality piece to take also from Boston. I mean, like a division rival. I think it serves twofold there. Get some intel into that locker room. You got to try to do something. You know what I mean? You can't just keep on going at it. You know what I mean? In the end, I think there's still more work to be done there in Toronto. You just got guys that can, they're built for the regular season. They're not built for a playoff run, and it's still apparent.
Yeah, they let Ryan O'Reilly go too, which I was a little surprised.
Right. Very surprised there.
Yeah. I mean, they paid a pretty heavy foot. How about Kerfoot with a $10 million contract? I kind of had to scratch my head at that one. Did Montreal really pay him $10 million?
Mm-hmm. And I know Robbie was upset when his boy was traded from Colorado to Montreal.
Yeah.
And then it's on a 4-year
now
deal.
You're going to give him up. Where was that before? Claude Giroux would have been an Avalanche and would have had a cup.
Mm-hmm.
Son of a bitch.
And the Flyers
but they got New York. I'm surprised at that other move, though, Brad. I mean, all that money, but it was a very, how we got a cheap get in terms of a Marc Staal bringing leadership. That's a very expensive get for the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
And a little better player.
but really though, $10 million for him though.
Too much.
Yeah, that's.
But they got money to spend. You got to hit the floor, right?
Yeah. I guess you do.
Yeah.
Yep. Appreciate it, Sharks fan.
Just snub.
Yeah. I think the Shark Will Smith is super. He's definitely who was talked about when you talked about this draft and it being so star laden. I think you got a great pick there in the first round. And overall, I think it was just a solid pick. I'm going to bring back up the list here just to refresh my names.
Yeah, and as far as the free agency goes, I think they made a splash for somebody. I can't remember who it was.
Oh, well, I mean, they re-signed their star. Now it's contagious, Brad. Shit.
Nah, I'm sorry. My senior
all
moments are spreading to you now.
Oh my goodness, I'm not far behind, my friend. I'm not far behind.
I saw Mackenzie Blackwood, which I thought was really good.
Yeah, sure.
That gives him a steady goaltender. I like the signing of Kyle Burrows. It's defensive depth. He's really good on the penalty kill too.
Tomas Hertl.
Yeah,
he's making.
Aching him long term.
Yeah, he's making a lot of money now.
Mm-hmm.
I think
he should.
Yeah, he's a heck of a player, but he's getting old. He's no kid, and with that knee, I don't know. I don't know about putting
2029.
Yeah, but
with that knee, it's more like 39.
Yeah, maybe.
I can speak on that.
No, don't you? I mean, don't you guys think that with his injury risk, that's a big risk with him? Because he's always missing games because of that knee.
I mean, if
that's a potential, that's a future buyout if I ever saw one.
It could be.
Oh, it's definitely gonna be. I think.
Yeah, I mean.
But he's your leader. You lose Timo Meyer, like he's your guy now. You know what I mean? You got to build around the team.
Yeah, and then the big thing here is, and I know Me Metal Mike and Sharks Fan 77 we're talking. It's the conversation surrounds Erik Karlsson. What's next for him?
Right.
So that's a big question here. It's their offseason. I think, my opinion, as a Ducks fan. My opinion, their offseason is going to be set on the return for Erik Karlsson. If they can pull this move off and get a nice, hefty return, especially after the year that he had, and he had a monster year.
Yeah, this is the time to
get a nice return.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is because if they wait another year and he only scores 50 points, then all of a sudden and gets injured again, it's going to be like, oh, boy.
Yeah.
So
I got to look, but I got to see how many contracts they have retained money on. But I know you can't have more than 3. It's 2 or 3 for sure. It's 2 or 3 for sure, but you can't retain more than 2 or 3 contracts. So if they have that, that's going to make it a little bit more trickier to.
Are you talking about like buyouts?
No, buyouts is 2, but I mean like retaining money on trades.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I didn't realize there was a limit on that.
Yeah, you can only have like 2 or 3.
Okay.
Yeah. Sharks fan, real quick. Quentin Musty, that's the name I was trying to think of. The other pick that he got 26 overall in the first round. That's a great winger to add to the team. And then later in the draft, round 3, Brandon Swoboda, a centerman out of from the Youngstown Phantoms. That's a really good pick there too. I think overall they had a pretty solid pick. I'm not really familiar with Can Giannoni or Layden. Casper Haltinen, also a winger out of Halifax. Good league. I'm not really familiar with him now.
Boy, I'm looking at their contracts. Jeez Louise. Oh, Philip Zadina. That's who it was. That's who I was thinking of. Love that signing for San Jose. And I can't believe Detroit gave up on him. A lot of potential there. Sorry, I got uber excited. gave up on him, plays both wings, signed him to a cheap deal. He's got a lot to prove. I think he's going to fit right in with what they're trying to do. But as far as their buyout situation goes, they're still paying off two guys. They still got to pay off Martin Jones, and they still got to pay off this other guy, Rudolph Belzers. And it looks like they only have retained Brent Burns' contract after being traded to Carolina last year. So they only got to pay him $2.72 for the next 2 years. So they got space if they want to retain any contract on an Erik Karlsson deal. So they got the space to do it. So now you just got to find a suitor for, I think he's got what? He's got quite a bit of time left on his contract too. It's 4 years left on his contract. So we'll see how that plays out. That is a long time. So it's got to be a team that is either just coming out of a rebuild that has that window open, in my opinion.
That could be LA.
Could be LA. I don't think LA's in on him though. I think Carolina.
No, I don't think he is. Yeah, I've heard Carolina and the Penguins.
I didn't hear the Penguins. What was the Canadian? Was it Ottawa? I think Ottawa. I heard was back in on him. I think that's another trade. I think that makes too much sense in my opinion. Him going back to Ottawa. I know how he felt about that organization and the city, and to me that makes way too much sense. Ted, I'm not exactly happy about it, but we got Leo Carlsson, so I'm not too upset. They didn't flub the pick too much. But we were talking earlier. You can hit the rewind button when we're done. Adam Fantilli apparently didn't want to play in Anaheim, so there's that. He'd rather be in Columbus for personal reasons. So I'm fine with it. Hope he breaks his kneecaps, and Leo, and I hope that Leo has a much better career.
Well, also the Sharks. They also picked up Philip Zadina, who just got bought out by the Red Wings. They just signed him yesterday for $1.2 million.
Yeah, I love that deal. That's the one I was thinking of earlier that I couldn't remember who they signed.
That was a nice move, I thought.
I thought getting Duclair for them was actually pretty good too. He's on a last year of his contract too at $3 million, so he's going to be playing for a contract next year. So they should be able to get some good production of him. I think if they can get Will Smith signed to the ELC this year, I think he could make the camp or the roster out of camp, and I think he's gonna make some noise right away. I don't see San Jose sitting in the cellar this year. I think the only way they do is if their defense, if they don't get a good return on Carlson and the defense just is not as good. I mean, I like their defense. Like I said, I like the addition of Kyle Burrows. Mark Edward Vlasic and Mario Ferrero are, to me, they're staples for San Jose at this point. I know Ferrero is still 24 years old, but he's making quite an impact on that defensive core. Sharks fan wants to know our favorite Sharks goaltender and scorer from the past. Mine's pretty simple. My favorite goaltender was Kelly Rudy. And how do you go wrong with Teemu Selanne when he spent that little stint in San Jose? A lot of people forget about that.
He was some player.
He was some player. It's a shame that he spent some time away from Anaheim.
76 goals in his rookie season. Holy crap.
And nobody's touching that.
No, that's an unbelievable stat.
But Brad, what's your favorite Sharks goaltender and scorer from the past?
Patrick Marleau.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Marleau.
Yeah, I mean,
can't go wrong.
Him and Joe Thornton together. I kind of like those two. They were fun to watch. Goaltender, I really like Martin Jones when he was playing in 2016. When they almost beat the Penguins. I mean, that was fun to watch. That was a really good team.
They really fell off after that though.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to understand what happened with them. I mean, the Sharks were really good for a long time, and they had so many chances and they just couldn't get over couldn't get past the Kings. I mean, how many times have the Kings beat them in the playoffs? Every year.
2 to my knowledge, and I think the Kings had a
The 1 year was
3-0 comeback.
Yeah, they 1 year they were down 3-0 and they came back and beat them, for God's sakes.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand the hate for the Kings is probably real in San Jose.
I think they hate us more.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think all three. I think all three probably hate each other the same way the Islanders, Devils, and Rangers hate each other.
Sure do.
Yeah,
Robbie, you came back at the perfect time, my brother.
Cool.
Favorite Sharks goaltender and scorer for Sharks fan?
Wow. I have to think about that. Yeah, come back to me. I'll have to think about that. I want to give that some thought.
All right. Oh, is that why you haven't been around so often, Ted? Is you're working nights now?
You guys go longer tonight.
Dude, I gotta work in the morning, so no.
Me too. Me too.
All right. Scorer, I'm going to go with Owen Nolan.
Oh, that was a good one. The former Quebec Nordique.
Yeah. That as well. I just, he definitely was good for that team for many years. Put almost 500 points up for his career. My gut, when I first read the question, and it's a great question. Thanks for chiming in there. Was Anthony Niemi. That was my first cut. What I thought Sharks goalie, but I'll go with Nabokov.
Oh, I didn't even think of Nabokov.
I always thought of him as a Flames goalie.
Yeah,
wasn't he the Flames goalie too?
No.
He
went. Where did he go after?
I thought he was with the Flames for a while. I must be thinking of the wrong Russian guy.
Yevgeny.
Huh? The Flames had somebody had a Russian goalie for a long time that was really good. I just can't remember who it was.
Yeah, Nabokov was a longtime Shark. He went to Islanders. That's what I was thinking of. And then,
that's it. Yep.
Finished his career with Tampa Bay.
Yep.
But from 99 to 2010, it's a good long run with the Sharks. Yevgeny Wolbert.
Love seeing all the new names in here. Yeah, for sure. Don Air. Hit that like and subscribe. We finally got some Ducks love in here. Let's go. Let's go.
Mighty Ducks for life. Screw the Sharks.
Told you, we don't like the Sharks. We don't like the Kings either.
Oh, gee, I can't imagine why.
I don't know. All right, we're going to do this again. Except for this time, we're going to do it for the Ducks.
Nice.
But apparently, it's after the 90s, before the 2010s, and we're not allowed to pick Timu, which kind of rules it out for me. So, actually, no, it doesn't. No. Robbie Niedermeyer and J.S. Jaguar. Not Robbie, Scotty.
For me, I'm gonna go with an unpopular pick just because I like the style of the game. Corey Perry.
Ooh, yes.
And I liked him before he came a Flyer. Brizgalov.
Yeah.
For the Ducks, he was pretty good.
I mean, I could still go Paul Correa because he played after the 90s.
That would be the guy. That would be the guy I would pick is Correa. He was terrific.
Yeah. Paul Correa. Can't go wrong there.
That's my favorite. Yeah, you guys know he's my favorite player all time. So,
right.
I got like 6 of his jerseys.
Player. Right.
He was a great player.
Well, there's a couple new. Yeah.
Oh.
There's a couple new players that'll be donning the Ducks jersey, Ratko Gudas and Alex Killorn, as Brian boasted about earlier in the show.
Nice moves there.
Yeah, I think so. I think it brings them a little closer. You know what I mean? Like certainly Boston. You know, they made some noise on day one signing JVR. That was everybody wanted him, right?
Oh yeah.
Finally, now as a new home
Joseph
in
got the
Boston.
guy that I was thinking about, by the way. Thank you, Joseph Horovsky. Mika Kiprasov. That was the guy I was thinking about.
Boom.
Sorry.
Yeah. Kiprasov. Right. For the Flames. Right.
Yeah, that was the guy. That was the guy that I thought was. Oh well.
The
whatever.
Bakov. Yeah.
Yeah. The Bakov. Sorry, I got my Russians confused there.
Favorite touch player, Adam Bags.
Yeah.
Well done.
Done. He had over 50 lifetime shutouts. I think he had over 60 actually. Believe it or not.
Do you remember his little mini-me?
I mean, he had some career.
He had some fans too. Like, do you guys remember the little Kipper? Did they call them? He would legit like during warm-ups would sit behind Kipper behind the net and just mimic every move he made. And he would be dressed in full gear. He would be dressed in full gear. He'd had the drawn on beard. This kid went all out. He was amazing. Oh my God. That's going to be the only reason I remember Mika Kiprasov is because of Lil Kipper.
Yeah, I just remember he in his limited time, playing when the Rangers used to play, the Flames always throughout history since were in Atlanta, they always beat the crap out of the Rangers, and every time the Rangers played and he was in goal, they just couldn't touch him. I mean, they can never score. They can never score on him, and they can never score on Carey Price. Those are the two guys they could never score on.
Absolutely. Furthering some of our discussion from earlier in the show in terms of some big moves, Boston also added defenseman Kevin Shattenkirk to their squad, along with a lot of other depth deals. The biggest splash that we've seen today, Don's Detroit Red Wings acquiring the services of Alex DeBrincat in a trade with the Ottawa Senators and then signed him to that 4-year contract. Flyers added some depth moves: Garnet Hathaway, Marc Staal, Rhett Gardner, Ryan Phoeling, Victor Mete. But the key moves have been signing some of their restricted free agents: Noah Cates, Cam York, Ronnie Attard, all to 2-year deals. Next up on their shopping list should be Morgan Frost. Let's round out our Around the League, boys. Any other big free agency moves, wheelings and dealings that you wanted to discuss before we move on to the shootout?
There was one thing I wanted to ask you guys.
Awesome.
Okay, what is going on with Travis Konechny? Are they going to trade him?
I don't think so. I think there was a lot of speculation coming into the draft if they were going to move up from 7, but they identified that they could get Michkov there, so they didn't wind up trading up. They also kept their 22 and got the guy that they wanted. So I think ultimately they're committed to Travis Konechny being a leader for this team. And I think a lot of the fan base, I know a lot of the Flyers fans that tune in the show, probably pretty damn happy to see that.
Because you know what? I may have to take back my comment that they're not going to be better this year than last year. If he's still on the team, because I forgot about him. He's still on the team because he got hurt last year. If he's on the team, and I mean, you're right about the fact that he didn't play in the second half of the season. You didn't have him, so you have him. You're going to have Cam. You're going to have Cam, and you're going to have who's the other one? You're going to have now I can't remember his name. Your boy who was hurt.
Oh, Couturier.
Yeah, Coots. You have him. That kind of makes up for getting rid of Hayes and Provorov. Now you got those 3 playing, and they might be better this year. And listen, all these young players, if they can get off to a decent start, that would really help.
No, for sure. And just want to give a shout out to Yodeling Yotes fans. First of all, love the subs that we're getting here tonight from a couple. We added 3 more to the fam. Let's go. not take this as a joke as intended. Holy crap, there is an actual Coyotes fan.
Oh boy.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so yeah, all right. Yotes fan, I see you. Not been a fan since they were been a fan since they were the Phoenix Coyotes. So
when they had JR and they had a good team back then.
Actually had ownership that cared.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Let me talk to the people. Wrapping up our third period, brought to you by FanUp, and it's the best way to enjoy fantasy sports. Daily MLB contests. We're going to be moving into football soon. That's the big season for FanUp, but you can certainly get in second half, set the kickoff this Friday in the MLB. Sign up now for FanUp. There's great prizes to win. If you use the A2D promo code, you get 5,000 bonus points, and that's a $50 value, and that's fanup.app. Shootout time, boys.
Yes.
Feeding right into this discussion, what was the best free agent signing so far this offseason?
I'm actually going to go with Brad's boys here and getting that deal with Blake Wheeler done. You're getting a top 6 player who can play center. He's more of a winger. He's a 50, 60 point guy guaranteed. You're pretty much not even paying him $1 million.
Paying $850.
That is such a steal of a move.
Yep, $850. And if he hits all his bonuses, then it's going to be what is it? It's going to be 1.2, 1.3 million.
I mean, you can't really beat that for a guy with not just his, scoring ability, but he's got a fresh start. He needed to get out of Winnipeg desperately.
Yeah, well, they demasculinized him by stripping him of the captaincy. I mean, when they should have just traded him. I mean, that was to me that was a hell of a shitty thing to do to him.
Agreed, but now you're putting him with a head coach like Peter Laviolette. You're going to see some good things out of Blake Wheeler this year, and I think he's going to be the absolute steal of free agency.
You know who else they picked up? I forgot to mention this guy. Good Branson had 42 points. Another one, $850,000. A defenseman who had 42 points last year. Now I know he's not a great defensive defenseman, but geez, he's a second. He's a really good power play defenseman. I mean, they'll probably, instead of having Trouba on the second pairing, they'll have him.
Probably put both together.
Yeah, they could. Yeah, that's true. That's true. The first power play unit is pretty much they're not gonna put him there because they got Fox out there, and then they have 4 forwards. But second unit instead of like, should be interesting what they decide to do with him. But he's going to be the number 5 defenseman. That's a pretty good player to get. I thought that was the other steal for the Rangers. Those 2 guys. Kind of liked what's his name too. Quick, picking up Quick. I like that one too. I think they did a nice job. They didn't have a lot of cap space, but they got all these guys for league minimum, and I thought they did pretty well for themselves.
Agreed. I'm trying to think who else was signed. I mean, I do love the Killorn to Anaheim.
Well, the Devils did well.
Who did the Devils get?
Who did they get? Who did they get from Calgary?
Oh, Tyler Toffoli.
Yes.
Yeah, Tyler Toffoli, and they traded. They traded. They didn't get him for nothing though. I mean, they traded a good player for him.
They traded Jaeger Sharangovich.
Sharangovich killed the Rangers last year, so I'm kind of glad to see him go. But he between that and signing Timo Meier, I thought they've had a pretty good off season.
Yeah,
but
I
they
like
might
Carolina
try to
signing
improve
Bunting.
But they might try to improve in goal, and I'm still very worried about seeing them get Connor Hellebuck. That would be just a horrible thing to happen if Connor Hellebuck gets traded to the Devils.
You know,
Fortunately,
under the rate,
they can't afford him right
Sorry.
now. Thank God. Sorry.
Right. Oh no, it's my fault. I
Go
was
ahead.
going to say quickly, one under the radar deal that I think could certainly be fit. One of the better free agent, I'm not say best, but one of the better free agent signings because he is coming off Achilles tendon injuries. But the Cap signing Max Pacioretty on a prove it 1 year deal, $2 million deal. That could be sneaky good for them. Bruins getting Kevin Shattenkirk. That's good too. But I mean, that's not moving the needle. Detroit don't sleep. They also picked up Shane Gostisbehere too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. He's gonna help the power play.
Right.
yeah. I mean, he was good for Carolina after he got traded over there from Arizona. So I
Right.
thought that was a good signing for them as well. That definitely helps the power play and so puts a little bit of more of a solid pillar in the defensive unit.
Right. I mean, Kulikov deal to Carolina. You know, we'll see if he can rebound from the end of this past season. John Klingberg to Toronto Maple Leafs too. Cheap 1 year, $4.15 million deal. You know, that could prove very well for them as Toronto tries to rebuild. You know what they got going on. You know, trying to change things as we were talking about earlier or what have you. So I think I was just trying to find one better, scrolling through the whole tracker. But I think ultimately my answer is going to be the DeBrickett trading side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree with
Detroit.
you.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like the Oliver Ekman-Larsson deal for Florida. I mean, like most of these, none of these signings really like wow me, but they're necessary. Like I think teams have done a good job. Like Chicago adding Corey Perry, I thought that was really good after they signed him after they traded for him.
But you know, your boys got Robert Hogg too, the ex.
Yeah.
No, okay. Sorry.
No,
You might be a little happier than I was expecting you to be a little happier than that.
I mean,
he wasn't
Robert
that bad.
Haig kind of he. I mean, it's nothing against him. I just don't think he developed into the defenseman that anybody thought that he was going to be.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing. Like he's just signed to be third pairing defenseman, if that, maybe a seventh, maybe like a seventh defenseman where he doesn't play every day. He rotates out with.
What do you guys think of Max Domi signing with Toronto?
Another good strong move. You know, I mean, I think it just making them a tougher team. That's what I see in a lot of these deals.
Gritty, mean player. It's certainly.
Right.
Is he going to take the place of O'Reilly? Maybe that's who they kind of replace him with. He's a cheaper version of him. So not a bad move there.
I will say this: I do like Ryan O'Reilly going to Nashville after they bought out Matt Duchene, and then I kind of do like Matt Duchene going to Dallas. That's a pure prove it deal for Duchene, who I thought had a bit of a down year last year. Nashville is really starting to tear that down a little bit. So Duchene's gone, Ryjo's gone. They're going to start rolling with some other players, but yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Rob. Like, good ones in here, but there's not really anything that's like really popping off the screen saying, "Oh my God, this was a brilliant move."
Seattle getting Dumoulin from the Penguins wasn't a bad move.
Oh, no, that was a good move too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see the Penguins lose him. To be quite honest with you, that's a tough one for the Penguins to make. No wonder they're trying to make that move with San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can understand it now because that's a big loss. Dumoulin was definitely their best defenseman last year, other than obviously not as good as Paul. What's his name? how do I forget all these names? Chris Letang. Not
Yeah.
as good as Chris Letang, but I mean, he's still pretty good, and that's a big move. I think he got $6 million though. That might be a little bit much for him, but Seattle had the money to throw around for him, so that's going to definitely improve them too.
Yeah. So real quick before we move forward here, I just want to get both of your guys' thoughts on the Islanders signing Ilya Sorokin to that massive contract. The 8 years, $66 million, where it's an 8.25 cap hit every year for a 27-year-old goaltender.
Horrible. Yeah, I mean, it almost makes the Rick DiPietro deal look better.
That's what he just took the words right out of my mouth. Rick DiPietro 2.0.
Right. I mean, he's okay. He can be solid at times. Too much money, too many years.
Yeah. The other thing that gets me upset is if he's making that much money, what happens in 2 years when Shesterkin is a free agent? Ouch.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
I
And
mean,
that's the reason why I wanted your thoughts.
Yeah, the Rangers are paying. I think they're paying him what, 4? They signed him to a 4-year deal 2 years ago for, I believe, $5 million a year. So he's only making $5 million a year, which to me is a steal. But if Sorokin is getting that, then he's going to be a $9 million goalie. Like, God, I hate paying goalies that much money.
Start spending the cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know what? When they did that with Lundqvist, it was almost immediately regrettable because he started. I mean, the first year he was great. They went to the finals, but after that he started his descent, and it was a long way down for him.
Sure was. Oy vey. Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to start seeing that with some of these other goaltenders again. As we saw the price tag coming down for certain goaltenders, but I think we're going to start seeing them going up. And I think you have one guy in particular to thank for that, and that is Andrei Vasilevsky.
See.
Yeah, but he won 2 Stanley Cups.
I don't know. I'm not saying he's not worth the money, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying he's the reason why you're seeing it go up.
Yeah.
Good return on investment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Sorokin has not won the Stanley Cup. $8 million for him.
I don't know what they're doing in on the island.
He's pretty good, but he's pretty good. I'm not saying he's not a bad goalie. He's definitely a good goalie, but Jesus, what are the Rangers going to pay for Shesterkin?
Yeah.
I mean, Shesterkin is what, 25 now?
That sounds like a you problem, my friend.
Back up the truck.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Shootout topic number 2. Most improved team.
Ooh.
I
Detroit.
think the Rangers. I think. Yeah, oh yes, Detroit for sure. I think the Rangers have improved from last year. I think Carolina has improved, especially on the blue line from last year. Anaheim has improved from last year. I feel like there's another team I'm blanking on. Toronto. I don't want to say Toronto, but Toronto's Boston. I think improved a little bit. They did a little addition by subtraction.
Yeah. Is Bergeron coming back to play?
I think so.
Okay, that's a big if right now because I don't think he's signed yet, has he?
No, but I think he's coming back.
That's too bad.
For me, I think Carolina's the most improved.
Carolina, you going with?
Mm.
It's a good pick.
Yeah.
Brad?
Detroit.
Yeah.
That was a great move. The Brinkets. That's a huge move for them.
Mm-hmm. And then on top
Still
of it, we didn't even mention.
Still nervous about the goaltending.
We forgot to mention JT Compher getting signed by Detroit as well. So that's a good depth centerman.
Yeah. I forgot about him. Yeah, that's a good signing too.
Yeah. You sure about that, Dave?
He's going back and forth on retiring or playing Patrice Bergeron this year. It maybe looks favorable. I mean, I got suckered into some clickbait. I hit this thing. It was like life-altering news for Patrice Bergeron could affect his decision, and it's basically congratulating him and his wife on the recent birth of a baby boy, Felix Bergeron.
Oh,
So I mean, congratulations. That was good to know. I don't think
that
that's going to affect his decision on whether to play or not. Maybe.
I mean, no.
maybe.
It could. I mean, he's my age, I believe. He's 37, 30, maybe 36,
not young.
37, 38, somewhere in there. So, I mean, it could be. Could be. But yeah, I mean, Robbie, who do you think is the most improved so far?
I'm going to go with the contrarian pick because everybody loves the contrarian pick, right?
Ooh.
The most improved team in this offseason, the Chicago Blackhawks. I mean, you got the number one pick. You got Bedard. It's not a given. You still got a generational talent that's going to be, in the same shoes as Sidney Crosby and Edmonton's Connor McDavid. But when it comes to Chicago, right? I think what's key on top of that is that their general manager, Kyle Davidson, also used a boatload of cap space that they have to target clubs that were looking to shed salary. So they added Taylor Hall, Nick Foligno, Corey Perry, signing them, or at least the latter two, to identical 1 year, 35+ contracts worth, $4 million. But still, having experienced leadership in Hall, Foligno, and Perry will be invaluable as Chicago's developing their promising young players. And I mean, in the middle of a rebuild, we're praising what the Philadelphia Flyers have done. I think Chicago deserves that similar praise.
No, don't forget Seth Jones is still there.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's going to be pretty darn happy to. They're going to be pretty happy to have him.
Right.
These hockey guys coming from Hot Take Hockey are great. They got such a great sense of humor. 1, Vancouver. 2, Canucks. 3, my hopes and dreams. 4, typical dork talking about Canucks hockey.
You're in the right place.
You are.
Is Peterson going to stay? That's the big question in Vancouver, right?
I don't think they have to worry about that for a little while.
Yeah, but I thought he asked for a trade, though.
Not that I know of.
No? Okay. I thought he did.
No. And then we got the Press Oilers fan saying, Edmonton has slightly improved, but I'd say Calgary is tearing things down and will be the new laughingstock of Canadian hockey. Who's the current?
Probably Ottawa.
I mean, I would say Toronto, as much as they are a great regular season team. They've gotten past the first round one time in almost 20 years. So
yeah, that's true. Winnipeg hasn't exactly been a wheel of fortune,
No, they haven't. Not since they lost Paul Maurice as their head coach.
Yeah, they haven't exactly been very good.
No. Don, what do you want to change your name to, brother? I'm kind of curious about that. Now you piqued my interest. But as far as I definitely don't want to take the homer pick as far as most improved, because they did improve signing Radko and Killorn, and Haig, because apparently I'm overlooking Haig for something.
Well, he kind of had a little rough. He had a little rough time with the Flyers a couple of years ago.
He did. He didn't get any better in Buffalo either. But yeah, like I said, Rangers I thought improved. Detroit definitely improved. I didn't even think about Chicago. I completely forgot about the Taylor Hall trade.
Yeah,
so I thought that was a fantastic move for Chicago.
Yeah,
right.
You bring in a goal scorer too. You bring in
Foligno.
a guy who's
Didn't they get Foligno too?
They did. They signed him to what, a 1-year deal?
Yeah, I mean Foligno's a
nice
2 year.
2 year.
Oh, it's 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Foligno's a nice player. I mean, he's
he's a great leader.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. He can score, and he's tough to play against.
Mm-hmm. Absolute leader in the locker room. I love it. Don saying he's gonna change his name to maybe optimistic Red Wings fan 313.
Listen, Don, your Lions are going to be okay. So relax.
I mean,
I know the Tigers are having another rough year, but
are they going to be okay?
They're pretty good.
are they going to be okay? Though Detroit's roster's either suspended for a half of the year or the full season, depending on what they did.
Who, the Lions?
Mm-hmm.
What did they do now?
Oh, a lot of them got snagged for gambling, for sports gambling.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Oh, boy.
Yeah, Jameson Williams got 6 games, and a few of the linemen and defensive players got a full season.
Oh,
yeah,
how stupid are these guys?
They're cracking down. Like it's not even just the guys on the Lions. It's been throughout the league. One of the Colts safety just got snagged for, what did he say? I think he got 6 games for gambling during the playoffs.
1 year deal, my fault. It was 1 year, $4 million, my fault for Foligno.
All good. Either way, he's still a huge value. Huge value addition there, and that's not even just because of his production. It's
just the mentorship. That's what you're paying for, really. And I mean, quality player. I mean, talk points wise. Talking about a guy that's totaled 36 points over the last 2 seasons. I mean, he's fallen off his game there in productivity level, but just quality guy in terms of when you're rebuilding. Give you.
Yeah, you never know though. He's going to get more ice time, so he might put up some points.
Yeah. Dealt with some injury there too. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, he's been kind of a third and fourth liner lately, so it might that might help that he's going to get a lot of ice time, so he might score a little bit more.
I mean, my question is, with Taves now gone, and not hearing a lot of teams linked to his name. Who, if you're in that organization right now, and you're looking at that roster before we jump and finish the show up real quick.
Yep.
Do you consider putting the C on Foligno for the full year, or do you wait and see what tends to happen?
Oh, I would wait.
I would wait, and you immediately put on Bedard when he starts playing.
Okay, so we're all pretty much in the same, but I don't know if I would put it on Bedard right away.
Yeah, I think generationally. I mean, you treat him like McDavid, you treat him like Crosby. I mean, immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but be captain, not yet. You don't want to do that to him.
Well, they did it to Crosby.
Huh?
They did it to Crosby.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I think they did it with Mario Lemieux too, but I just don't know if that was.
It may not be that type of league anymore, is what we were saying, Brad. I mean, you got a point there. You do have a point.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times they don't want to put too much pressure on on these kids.
Fragile Generation Alpha. I just learned that there's Generation Alpha now. There's what? Hold on, what is it? Since we were born, Brad.
Yeah.
What?
We have millennials, Gen Z, and now there's Generation Alpha. Fuck
Alpha.
my life.
Are these the ones that are all ultra sensitive and crying all the time about everything?
2013 to 2025 is there anyone born in that area? I would even say Gen Z fits in that realm too, 90. But I don't know. Actually, I think it's Gen Z is more like you're talking about, and the Alphas are bringing back like the 90s, like grunge feel. It's coming back.
Yeah. Seriously. I work with. I mean, they're not Generation Alphas, but I mean, if you look at like a lot of the girls nowadays, they brought back the mom jeans.
Yep.
Like the '90s mom jeans that were super baggy and tight around like. But anyway, hey.
Next up, Doc Martens.
Yes, they're coming back too. Now, Penguins fan, hold on, Dirty Doc. Gotta defend my boy there. Better knock it off. I'm not gonna boot you because I like you, but you better leave him alone.
Dirty ducks.
Ducks aren't dirty. We're smart. We're intelligent creatures. But anyway,
I did watch a special on warm-blooded penguins tonight in South Africa earlier today in South Africa. They might be pretty smart.
Well, they are smart.
Yeah.
They're totally smart.
They're smart. If they can live in the South Pole and manage to survive down there, and then when they go in the water to eat, have to fight off the seals and the sharks, they're pretty smart.
Don't forget the orcas.
Oh, the whales too. Yeah, I
Mhm.
forgot. Yeah. Well, yeah.
All
The
right.
whale. Wait, the whales eat the whales eat the penguins. No, the
Right.
whales eat the leopard seals, and the leopard seals eat the penguins.
The orcas will go after the penguins too.
Yeah, I guess
They'll
they
go
would.
after
Yeah,
both.
if they get
Yeah.
that's if it's an emperor penguin, that's a heck of
Mhm.
of a lunch. But that
Don't eat the penguins. No.
yeah, the penguins are kind of little. I mean, if they get an emperor penguin though, that's a nice meal.
All right, topic number 3.
Topic number 3. Boys, let's start with you, Brad. Super early Stanley Cup champion prediction.
Oh, geez.
Oh yeah, I forgot I did this one. This is fun. Okay.
Super early. What the heck? I'll use the home. I'll go with the home team, the Rangers. Why not?
Nice.
Yeah,
Homer.
I know. I'm gonna get. What the heck? Let's get. We better get Tarasenko now that I said that.
I'm trying to. I mean, there's always a team that pops up out of nowhere. Who's that team going to be this year?
Buffalo.
Could it be the most improved team, Hurricanes?
I was thinking about it, but they're sticking with Freddie Anderson and that.
Stinko.
Yeah, I don't like him.
I like Freddie fine. It's just he sizzles out at some point in the playoffs. He always does. He always has.
Stinko.
He never does. He never gets the. He never gets. He never gets the big win.
I'm gonna go with. I'm
There's
gonna go with Boston.
in Vegas.
I'm gonna go with
They
Boston.
win it the year after the President's Trophy. I like it.
You
You think they're gonna have a down season and then come back strong in the playoffs?
Yep. I don't think they have that same season that they had last year. I think they stay clear of the President's Trophy.
They might be better off if they don't.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, look at how many years in a row Washington won it, and the one year that they didn't.
Yep. Well, you know what? I think the President's
You
Trophy.
and me both, Joe.
The teams that win the President's Trophy to end up crumbling under the pressure. That's what it seems like, anyway.
It's just a curse, man. I can't explain it.
Don going with Toronto.
Bold, man. Go lay some money in Vegas on it now.
Flip flop.
Oh, he flipped by Edmonton. Yeah, I picked them this year. They got to improve the goaltending now. They got to improve the goaltending.
Yeah, they could use to improve their defense too a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Boys, to wrap up, I'm gonna say what I said. A couple months ago. I think during the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm gonna stick with my pick, Dallas Stars. I think Jason Robertson and Jake Ottinger learn from their mistakes, gain that experience this year, and take them on a nice long run. Go Dallas.
I like it. I thought about them, and add in Matt Duchene into that mixture. It's gonna get crazy. Wyatt Johnson's gonna have a full year under his belt, and the kid's a stud.
Yes, sir.
I like it.
Yes, sir.
I like it.
Yes, sir. Bring it. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was laughing at the comment.
Oh, what is it? Oh, sorry.
Even though Oilers fans not picking Edmonton.
Poor McJesus. Oh man, give that man his cup. Anyway, bringing you tonight's shootout, Alonze Travel, specializing in creating the vacation of your dreams at Disney, Universal, or wherever your heart calls you. Let their talented team of travel experts create a custom vacation for you without any of the stress. Tell them A2D Radio sent you. Alonze, let's go. AlonzeTravel.com. Take the trip. Who could tell them about it here at A2D Radio, Brian?
Oh, you can go reach out to Trucks Moran and a Birds of a Feather, or in his very ring's very own Ritz, I was going to say, do I go full name? Because he might kill me if I do. You can hit up Ritz there on in this very ring as well. Both do a great job with Alonze Travel. Both will definitely help you out and get you guys your dream Disney vacation.
I'll hook you up. I'll hook you up strong. Hey, boys, maybe next week we'll have all four of us together in the same virtual room. What do you think? Think it'll happen?
Fingers
Hopefully.
crossed. I mean, I'm going to be real. You guys almost didn't have me tonight. I should be at the Yellow Card concert right now.
Oh.
Yellow Card, and it's Yellow Card, Mayday Parade, Story of the Year, and Amber Lynn.
Oh.
That's my childhood.
Yeah.
That's me through high school. So I had to make a choice. I'm like, do we go 2 weeks without a show with everything that happened in free agency and the draft, or do I go to this concert? Let's just say I love you boys right now. So.
You did a responsible thing. Responsible.
I love you, Brian. You made the bold sacrifice for us all.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Light up the sky, baby.
You the man.
Well, for Matt Sudi celebrating his birthday, happy birthday, Matty. We love you, man. Brian Daly, Brad Ryer, Ralph Del Vecchio on the ones and twos. I've been Rob Povia. We'll get into some more off-season action. It's bound to get crazier, right, boys? As we move towards camps. Oh, and then pretty soon camps will be upon us. So we'll get into that. We'll maybe talk, some of our favorites in the hockey world, both entertainment-wise and elsewhere. Join us Tuesdays, 8:30 p.m.-ish here on A2D Radio. Thank you for all the commenters tonight. You are the lifeblood. You drive the show. Thank you so much. We'll check you out next week. Peace out.